share my screen. I'll show you a few things here while we get started. And by the way, we have a gift will be given away at the end of the call. It'll be given to one of the live participants on the call. And so hang around for that. Let me share my screen here, and we'll be off on the call here. So disclaimer, this is not soliciting any specific deal on these calls, although we do talk about real estate and apartment investing. This is not legal or financial advice. So it's just professional sharing what we do and helping others to become familiar with the process and to become involved eventually if it's a fit for you. One of the purposes for these calls are to get to learn to know each other a little better, and what we do here at Eagle City Multifamily. The team, here we go. The Eagle City team is Nikki and Dr. Sanjeev Mall. They're not on the call today, but they're out of the country. They'll be on. They're typically on the calls. And Asif Kumar will be on the call if he's not yet. We all live in the Dallas area. I live out here in Emory. Is the Eagle capital of Texas. That's the reason for the name Eagle City Multifamily. So here we go. We raise capital to purchase apartments that return better than average returns. And we open these investments up as we purchase apartments, typically a couple a year. So not very often, but this show is to provide information to participants, investors, anyone that's interested. This show is open to the public. So let's go ahead and introduce our most amazing guest speaker today, Melvin Landry. Melvin is on the call with us today. Melvin is a founder of More Land Equity Capital. He's a real estate professional with a sizable single-family portfolio in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and over the last 12 months has scaled quickly in multifamily real estate, investing actively and passively in 10 deals, over 2,500 units in the Sun Belt and the Midwest U.S. Melvin has over 20 years of experience in corporate procurement, supply chain management across various industries. Melvin is also a college professor at agricultural economics and economics in the Texas A&M University system in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Okay. His hobbies yes, sir. Thank you, Melvin. Thank you for joining us on the call. And go ahead and introduce yourself some more and let us know how and why you got involved.
Cool. Well, cool. Hey, Herb. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it fully. It's a pleasure to be here speaking with everyone here today. And hey, man, just appreciative. So good to kind of share my story. My story is a little bit different from the conventional individual, to say the least. So, the title of the, of Herb's, on the banner was real estate being an eternal savior. And it has indeed been an eternal savior for me, myself, and my family, given the fact that real estate saved my family from bankruptcy. Now, I'll take a step back and kind of share how I got into real estate. It wasn't that the desire that I wanted to be a landlord. I wanted to own all these properties and things of that nature. It kind of started off indirectly by chance. So, my buddies, I went to the University of Arkansas, so I'm a hog by trade, right? So my buddies ended up going, postgraduate school. They went to Pittsburgh. Two of my closest buddies, one of them being a mentor, not a real estate mentor, but almost like a personal mentor to me. and these guys moved out to Pittsburgh. So they were in Pittsburgh, and I was at the time I was living in Omaha. I lived in Omaha, Nebraska, 7 years. So of course, when you're young, I'm in my 20s, right? I'm living life, right? And I go visit my buddies in Pittsburgh, right? So go, maybe say once a quarter just to go hang out with the bros, right? They're my fraternity brothers and we're real close. And just so happened that one of my, my mentor, frat brother, right, was had a few rental properties, right? And this was in the Pittsburgh area, right? He was a college professor at Cal U of Pennsylvania, which is now all those universities that these guys have taught at. They've now been consolidated, right? So, he had a few rental properties, and like, oh man, this okay. This looks like a good opportunity. He's like, Merv, go ahead, go get under a few properties. Cash flow is something that something to keep an additional income stream going. So I'm like, okay, right. So at the time, guys, I was working in corporate America. I was teaching 3 to 4 classes at the same time. And oh, by the way, I was working part-time at Walmart, right? So my wife calls me a Jamaican. I work a lot of jobs. I always had the hard-working mindset. And that was what was instilled to me growing up, right? You go in, you go to school, you work hard. If you can work multiple jobs, you make it work, and you try to diversify, okay? I decided to do that, right? I'm working at Walmart. I'm a cashier. I don't really need to do it, but I'm doing it anyway, right? But I'm accumulating stock, right? I was buying stock with Walmart. I was working at the time. The share price was like $28 a share. It's like 6 times that now, right? So I go ahead, right? I'm doing all these different things, and I got income coming in from everywhere. I'm a single guy, and I'm living in Omaha. Rent's $460 a month. I got a corporate job. I'm making 6 figures, so life's pretty good, right? So I go start buying my first investment property, which happened to be a duplex. A duplex, which is actually now 18 minutes away from where I stayed, the very first house that I bought in 2005. And you know what? Then 2005, 2006, 2007. You know what happens 2008, right? So I started going gangbusters on buying single family houses. I'm buying them for $15,000 and $20,000 a pop. I found an agent, I found a contractor, and I'm buying these properties, right? So I'm buying these properties, I'm getting them fixed up, right? I've got 20, I got 30, I'm cash flowing. Life's pretty good, right? So I'm doing this kind of passively because my mindset at the time was, hey, I want to work my job, I want to keep teaching. That's kind of where my mindset was, right? And I just kept kind of buying. I get some cash, right? I'm buying properties. I'm accumulating as many REO properties as I can. Fast forward 2013, right? I've been married 10 years. And for those who know my wife, Jackie, I got like 50 properties. I'm kind of managing them by myself with a property manager half time. So of course, and I'm stretched to the limit, right? But that's my mindset is I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. So and we get there, right? I'm managing these properties. I got like $25,000 a month of cash flow just coming in. Life's pretty good. I'm still working, still teaching, and I'm the Jamaican, like my wife called me, right? Real estate still in my back pocket, but it's kind of passively. And just in that short amount of time, I built up 40, 50 properties with a lot of cash flow. Fast forward to 2014, 2015. Me and my wife moved to Dallas. We decided to open up a business, a franchise, okay? We decided to open up a franchise in Highland Park, University Park area, which is one of the highest, highest household income areas in Dallas City. So we do so, we invest $500,000 in the franchise. We kickstarted, it's the first to Texas. And I'm still doing real estate, passively. Cash flow is coming in. But you know what? It's my mindset is, hey, I'm gonna keep working to kind of fund the franchise. Real estate's there as a backup, and I kind of take my feet off the gas. Okay, so I'm at 50 something properties. Things are going well. I'm not really accumulating it at the pace that I was, and so I'm going down the journey with my wife operating this dessert franchise. So year one, right? It's a $500,000 build out, right? Things are going well, right? We got this new storefront and a Class A development where there's 350 Class A apartments, right? It's in the area called Preston Hollow Village, where for those of you who live in Dallas, you probably know where that's located. Things are going well, right? So my wife's working. My wife decided to quit a consultant job making $200,000 a year to pursue her dream of running a business. I support her, right? Year one, we opened the franchise. We're doing well. Of course, when you open up a business, you you're not making money day one when you opened up the business, considering the fact we had a $500,000 bill out. Okay, you're not making any money. So my wife's working 60, 70 hours a week. This is her baby. I'm backing her up, right? Kind of financially, but this is her baby. Year two, she's still working 70 to 80 hours a week, right? She's not making any money. The store is averaging $600,000-$700,000 in sales. She can't afford to pay herself. We have millennials, right? For those who work with millennials as employees, you know how it is. It's a rough go keeping talent. Year two, right? We're not making any money. Sales are, we're growing sales. We can't afford to pay her or ourselves, right? Year two, my mother-in-law decides to come into the business, right? We're still bleeding, right? But we're trying to kind of right the ship from from an operation standpoint, efficiencies and things of that nature. Thank goodness for real estate being in the background from a passive standpoint, because my rents were helping to fuel the business in October, November, December, January, February. Now, mind you, my rent's $10,000 a month at the store. Average cup for a piece of product was $5. So I had to sell a lot of product in the wintertime. And in Dallas, not too many people eating ice cream in the wintertime. So I see a Steve, I see you shaking your head. It is what it is, right?
I'm in the same business, man. I know that.
Yeah. So, year two and a half, my mother-in-law, who's now 74, she starts to work in the business, helping out her daughter, right? We can't afford to pay her either, and she was in there 70 years old running circles around these millennials, right? It is what it is, right? But, you got to kind of keep the business going afloat. We were in a 10-year franchise engagement, right? So year three, right? Mother-in-law is working a little bit more. My wife's still working 70 to 80 hours a week. Rent still due. You still got to pay franchise fees and stuff like that. The business is operational. We can't afford to pay her, right? I'm leveraging more of my rents from my cash flow to put into the business. Okay. Between year three and year four, it's still a bloodbath. Sales are increasing even more. I already got 5 jobs. So I started helping out on the business to help out from a catering standpoint. Between year three, I grew it to almost 6 figures. Year four, I grew it to 6 figures. So you can imagine, right? I got a 9 to 5. I'm teaching classes, right? I'm still managing real estate, right? Working with, now I got a property manager, but I'm still active and trying to make sure things are there. Tenants are still texting me and things of that nature. And I'm dealing with the franchise business that, by the way, my wife's still working 70 to 80 hours a week. Our turnover with the millennials was like 140%. My mother-in-law is working a little bit more to help out because she cares and she's 70. And oh, by the way, I'm helping out in the business. So when you think about it, right? And we got a young son, right? So this is 2016, 2017. My son's 8 now. So he was like 3. My wife missed our son's first step. So by then, right, you could imagine there's a lot of friction, right? We can't turn the corner to get this thing profitable, even though sales are increasing. My wife's working 70 to 80 hours. My mother-in-law is working in the store, and I'm helping out as well. So at some point it came to the point in terms of a means to an end. So year 4, and this was before COVID, we came to the decision like, what? Not quite sure what more we can do. This is a fraud model is where we came to the conclusion. And it was milking up 70% of the cash flow I was getting from real estate. Because, hey, wintertime,
You have to feed.
all of my rents are feed. All of my rents is feeding the store. So, I'm not seeing any of it. And I'm working, right? And I'm stretched thin, right? My wife's stretched thin, right? We got a young son. So it came to a breaking point. And you know what? It got to the point where, we need to figure out an exit plan. So I'll never forget the day. This was December 2019. This was before COVID hit. And we had decided that it was time to exit and bear the consequence. So we got stuff moved out the store. As you can imagine, we had a lot of customers. Everybody was like, whoa, you closed. Of course, we're closing the location, right? The franchise, right? Because we had a growth strategy in place. We're going to grow all these locations, make all this money right off into the sunset. Nah, yeah. And we did intense due diligence with regards to that. Didn't quite go that way. So we closed the store. Of course, landlord was a little teed off, as you could imagine. My background is procurement supply chain. I negotiate. I work with vendor agreements day in and day out. We were about to get sued, right? You could imagine $10,000 a month with 6 years left on the lease. the landlord really wanted to go in, he could have, right? It could have put us on the brink of bankruptcy. We're able to negotiate out of that. Luckily, I had real estate, single family real estate at the time, right? Backing me up, right, to deal with the fees at the time, right? Because, we had stopped paying rent once we closed the store. So once we were able to kind of do that, we're able to settle with the landlord. It took 4 months, but you know what? I kind of feel I got out of it with $500,000 because I settled for under $100,000. Timing is everything, because when we closed our stores right before COVID, they might not have been as nice, right, had we been in COVID and we moved everything out. So consider that a blessing, and real estate had a lot to do with that, because it funneled a substantial amount of cash for me to kind of deal with the legal fees. Now, in the regards to this equation, it's a two-headed monster, right? You're dealing with the landlord, but you deal with the franchisor as well. So, we acted on from a legal standpoint because we felt, we weren't provided the necessary information that was provided per the franchise agreement after doing the due diligence. And, but, you had to defer to arbitration. And we came 1 month from going to arbitration. And the franchisor and I ended up settling to avoid that. Now, there were other franchisees who had closed their stores as well. One franchisee in California went to mediation and they lost their store. Had another franchisee that was in Texas, and I won't give the location. They had 2 locations. They closed both of them, lost in arbitration because they found out there was some funny stuff going on behind the scenes. Franchisor ended up taking their store. And there was another franchisee that was out west that ended up closing their location as well, and they never reopened, but they fell off of the face of the earth. And we all had the same legal representation. So it was quite dynamic at the time, but you know what? Thank goodness for real estate. Even though I've been passive in real estate at the time, man, again, it saved me from bankruptcy. We were bleeding money, and imagine paying a lawyer, right, for almost a year. Well, yeah, a little over a year, because we were prepping even before we closed, $400 an hour. Quite expensive. And you know what, man, if I didn't have a real estate portfolio as a backup, I don't know where I would be today. I don't know if I'd be bankrupt, or, my hair's already gone, right? So you think about the stress of, of kind of going through that, and, man, knock on wood, I thank the man above for having a real estate portfolio to be able to bail me out. So you think about it, right? So we settle. I still got an SBA loan I got to pay for that I just got finished paying for 10 months ago. Because, so had to kind of fulfill the obligations from that respective ordeal. And once we moved out and we got the case closed, we were in Dallas at the time. My wife was like, you know what? She wants to kind of turn the page. So we moved out of Dallas and we moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And, I love it here. Pittsburgh is a real easygoing city. And it's a little different from where my hometown. I'm from New Orleans. My wife's from Chicago. It's very hilly here, and it's just a different vibe. But we love it here, and son loves it here, and everything is kind of going well from that standpoint. So, you fast forward to 2022, right? I go to Sunrock R2R. I was curious, right? I had my single family portfolio, and oh, mind you, I had to sell off 30% of my portfolio to pay for legal fees. So I had all these properties I was cash from, I had to sell off. I mean, we were fighting a good fight from a legal standpoint, but I had to sell off a piece of my portfolio. So it is what it is to go ahead and get the clearance, but that peace of mind is priceless in the grand scheme of things. So, we moved to Pittsburgh, and oh, by the way, I see marketing for a Sunrock event. I decided to go, and, met some interesting individuals. Herb, I think I met you at the Art event last year. I think, yep, we crossed paths and met a lot of individual. Light bulb went off in terms of, scalability, partnerships, syndication, growing your wealth from passive investing. I've always been the one of kind of active, right? I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm the first to raise my hand. Hey, I'm an educator, but I can also be a sponge to learn information as well. So, man, I was fired up, as you can imagine, coming out of R2R just last year. My wife, she's always kind of been, hey, I see the checks, but I'm not really active in the grand scheme of the real estate thing, right? So She kind of let me do my thing. I told her I wanted to get in the mentoring, join along when you can. She was working at the time. She's like, okay. She was just kind of passive. You know what you're doing. I trust you. Go ahead. So moving along, getting the mentorship, learning, trying to understand this thing, building reports, going to different events. I go to AIMNetCon, right? I decided to join the mastermind. My wife likes me. What the hell? Wait a minute. Stop. What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing, right? You just spent, right, 40,000 on mentorship. We're doing this. So it was a tough battle at first to get buy-in. She wasn't fully bought in. She had a worker's mindset, right? She was just like, okay, we had the business closed. We lost a lot of money. I need to try to make up for ends time, right? So my wife's the mindset was different. So we decided to join the mastermind, and after a little tug of war, I ended up winning the battle, right, for a change, right? I won the battle of joining the mastermind from a real estate standpoint. So it took one event. We went to Atlanta in November. Jesse Itzler event. It's game over. My wife's like, no more arguments, no more nothing. This is what we need to be doing. I'm like, okay. Refreshing, right? Okay, we're on the same page. By then, I had already invested in 3 deals passively, building rapport, building relationships. I'm investing. I had leftover cash, right? Capital from selling off single family real estate. I got into my first deal was in a 312 unit Class A opportunity in Missouri City. I got in. The second ordeal was a dual package Class B opportunity in San Antonio. Got into that one, right? And was kind of spreading, and then started using my IRA, right? So I got educated real quick in terms of the options to really passively invest. And at the time, right, for me, it wasn't the main thing for me in terms of from a real estate standpoint that I was really wanting to get. Anything I can do to not pay taxes, I'm all for. I ran a business. I was a business owner for 4 years. I always got nice refunds, right? The balance sheet was pretty bloody, as you can imagine. We lost a lot of money, but from a tax standpoint, there were losses that we were able to take advantage of. So I was just like thumbs up on that. So once I really kind of dig and understood how the tax code is implemented with what's in place now, how to passively invest, wasn't quite really worried about distributions. I was just worried about how I could get those net passive losses, because I had been, the losses from the franchise were so large, and we were able to spread those out, right, even until last year. So you think about 7 years of losses, I was able to, tax time was real good to us. So anyway, any way or any opportunity to kind of keep that going, I saw that as an opportunity that I did not want to lose. And move fast forward, man, year later, we set the goal of, if the opportunity come for us to be a kind of co-GP where we can learn, we got that opportunity. We joined a couple other consortiums, right? I'm part of Raise Masters, really heavily involved with the Apartment Association in Pittsburgh, the Builders Association in Pittsburgh. My wife decided to retire for a second time, October 2021. That Jesse Itzler event kind of sealed the deal, and we kind of shift things around in terms of, from a IRS standpoint, right? I was going back and forth with my accountant in terms of, Melvin, can you claim a real estate professional? We're going back and forth. We're like, well, I could, but the IRS more than likely will see me as linear. He doesn't see me as a guy with a 9-to-5. He doesn't see me as a guy teaching classes. He doesn't see me as a guy as a real estate investor or single family. And he won't see me as a guy as a multifamily investor as well. The IRS will see Melvin as one person. So they may knock off the real estate designation. So in order to be conservative and also to make sure we covered, my wife decided to be a realtor. I took off. I already got the 5 jobs. So I can't be everything to everybody. And the IRS may only see me as linear. Be like, how you can have all these jobs and still do real estate? So wife's designated as a real estate professional. I'm still able to kind of do my, my jobs for the time being. And, we're lockstep in goals, right? We grew into over 2,500 doors passively and actively building relationships. And the sky's the limit right now. So I feel, it took a year, get a website in place, get VAs in place, get a system in place, get a back end in place to be able to kind of get things built into place. And I would not have been able to do it without us kind of changing direction. My wife decided to retire, and her helping out to kind of push the back end from a business standpoint. So again, real estate has stepped up to the plate. It has been a savior for my family. It has saved me and my wife from bankruptcy, and happy to be a part of the continuing journey. And it's going pretty well, man. So, this year we're looking to, excuse for the Grant Cardone adage, 10x our general partnership doors. We ended last year with 48. We're trying to get to 480, and hopefully we'll be able to get there and progressing along. But it's been a good journey, man. I'm hopefully in another 2-3 years I could be done with my corporate job, and always looking to passively invest. We feel we need to be passively investing in 5 to 7 deals a year so the turns can kind of start to pay off. Realizing the fact, right, everything's risky, right, when you enter into deals and things of that nature. But the simple fact that, taking advantage of those tax benefits, and now I fully understand the tax law, how it works and how to take advantage of it from a business standpoint. And that's what I'm preaching to individuals who I know. Folks see me out on social media, they see me on Facebook with the live videos. I mean, when I see friends of mine and, I paid $15,000 worth of taxes, and they're sticking their arms up, being macho man, they're like, there's a better way. Why, there's a better way, man. So listen. And listen and try to get educated on ways how to minimize your tax liability. And you know what, man, we work hard. I've worked hard over the years. I've worked multiple jobs over the years. It's not about what you earn, it's about what you get to keep. That light bulb really, really hit home for me within the last 12 to 24 months. So
Thank you,
my
Melvin.
Story, sticking by it, and
yeah,
man, all good.
Melvin, I just wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, man.
So the real estate professional status, right? That's a status of the IRS, right? So would you mind just saying just a little bit about that for anybody on the call that might not be familiar with that?
Yeah. So to really take advantage of those net passive losses, right? You need to have some form of a real estate designation from a professional standpoint. And even though I've been involved in real estate for a long time, I had a fear, there's been times, man, I got more W-2s than I got fingers, right? I teach at a bunch of schools in adjunct capacity. Everyone gives me a W-2. I got my main job being a procurement professional. And, I was afraid that as my accountant, like, well, do you want to claim active status as a real estate person? I mean, you got all these properties and you're still moving and shaking, be like, well, if the IRS sees me as linear, they won't allow me to do that. So we wanted to be safe. My wife went and got her real estate license. She's the real estate professional. As we get and move and shake properties now, we kind of keep all the fees in the family, right? So she's a realtor. I have her sell the properties. If I want to buy something, I go ahead and kind of go through her. But we're even not doing as much of that now because the focus is multifamily, right? I got to scale fast. And got to get in a way where I'm passively investing in alternative assets. So hopefully that answered your question, Herb.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's so a real estate professional is spending over half of your time in real estate, right? Or over 750 hours a year, right? So just information on the sideline there.
Yep. I mean, so Herb, if you're working for the IRS, right? If I got a 9 to 5, I'm teaching at 10 schools, right? I got these rental properties. Be like, they're gonna. Where are you getting the 750 hours from? Well, right. Technically, we'll make it happen, but you know what? I just want to be safe. I'd be safe rather than sorry. So,
right, yeah. So, I'll see if you're muted. You can unmute yourself. I looked like you were talking. So, if you are, just letting you know.
So now you are full time in the multifamily, right?
Technically, there's a stipulation to that. Focus is multifamily full time, but see, I still got a 9 to 5. I still got a 9 to 5 job. I still teach multiple classes for multiple institutions, and trying to make it work, man. Trying to make it work. My wife doesn't work a 9 to 5 anymore. She's helping with the back end. As a matter of fact, she's at a family office event now. And right now we're in build relationship mode hardcore. And we're really putting our pedal to the metal in terms of building relationships, building contacts, underwriting, finding deals. It's going full fledged. So yeah, I'm still stretched thin, but eventually, a goal 3 years from now is see if I can dump my 9 to 5, hopefully. I teach part-time, so it's adjunct. So it's pretty cool. right? Teaching part-time online, so I don't have to go to the classroom anymore. Last time I taught a class in class was the University of Dallas when I lived in Dallas, in Irving. So I just teach online. We find the balance, right? And hey, at the end of the day, I got to be a husband and a dad too. So between lacrosse, baseball, helping out my son with coaching. So that's pretty cool, man. So
Melvin, that's amazing. That helps others to see how, people get involved and get started, right?
yeah,
Because there's a lot of passive investors. In other words, people can invest in other people's deals, right? If you know a good team, right? So, and that's what we're all about, sharing with.
Melvin, tell us the strategies, how to raise the capital.
how to raise the capital. Steve, I'll be honest with you, man. The first opportunity I got to raise capital, these guys were in a bind. These were partners of mine from Raise Masters, and they needed $500,000 to get the deal closed. Okay.
Mhm.
I got pulled in a week before Thanksgiving. So as you can imagine, it's pretty stressful, but I took on, me and my wife decided to take on the charge. Okay.
Mhm.
Reached out to everyone I know in my Rolodex, reached out to everyone I know. I was committed to putting in, right? I submitted, and I got a few of my buddies who they were high income earners, a couple of my frat brothers, and they needed bonus depreciation because they were tired paying the man so much in taxes. So got them to commit to the deal, was able to help bring it to the line to get it closed and help, and help my buddies, take advantage of the bonus depreciation as well. And they had a rental or two as well into the place. So the light bulb went off for them and they started the opportunity after I explained it to them to be able to kind of jump in, save some tax dollars, and they're very appreciative from that. So we're able to help them close the deal. It was, it was stressful right before the holidays. You can imagine, but we were able to get it done. We got the property closed. It was a 48 unit in San Antonio. We closed December 23rd. That was a Friday.
Good job.
Wow, that's amazing. We closed on a unit, 128 unit on the 23rd of December ourselves.
Okay,
So
congratulations. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Congrats to your passive investors who's getting the K1s, right? So it's always a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So just want to let everyone know, if you have questions for Melvin, please raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask a question, or post it in the chat if you would rather do that. Melvin has a lot of experience, as you can tell. So please feel free to.
Ask me anything. Yeah, I mean, I've.
Yeah, Karina, go ahead. I see you unmuted.
Yes. Hi, Melvin. How you
Hey,
doing? I'm Karina.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
So the last bus tour that I went on, I spoke with a gentleman, and my problem is coming up with the capital to passive invest. We don't have a lot of capital on hand. And he had suggested, or he had said how he got started was he had duplexes, and he got ones that had value add, and then added to them, sold them, and then did a fourplex, and then so on until he was able to get into the bigger. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, because I'm studying the underwriting, and I'm wanting to be a syndicator eventually, quit my job and be full time, but to get the money rolling in order to be able to get to that point. Do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, I would say I think you're doing the right thing. For me, my situation, of course, everyone's situation was different, right? So when I kind of got into passive investing, I had some leftover cash because I sold some single family, and I had over $250,000 in the IRA sitting there doing nothing but collecting dust. So I had opportunities to deploy. Additionally, I had 2 401ks, right? Because I mentioned, right? My wife calls me a Jamaican. I had all these jobs. I had all these 401ks sitting there. And literally, I had like 8, 9 different 401ks. I've worked different jobs, different organizations over the years. And it always, for me, has been in the mindset, I work job XYZ and I'm putting away 30 to 35% of my income. So I had all these 401ks just kind of out everywhere. And I had a hard time keeping up, to be honest with you. So I got an IRA custodian, and I kind of moved everything to consolidate. And then I just started, after I'm like, ooh, bonus depreciation, folks who I really got a rapport with kind of just started passively investing from that standpoint. But again, if you don't have that, right, you may not work 10, 15 jobs like I have over the years.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, it's all good. But yeah, being able to kind of go into some cash flow, any type of cash flow passively, I think will kind of help kind of build the stage for you as you're looking to invest and getting the kind of larger syndications. And also something else to think about as well, you know, hey, if you got only X, right, to invest, right? Say for instance, okay, minimum investment's 50, but Karina got 25, 27,000. Ask if they would accept a lower amount.
Mhm.
Some sponsors may not. But again, it gets you the opportunity, right? Gets you the opportunity to kind of passively invest in things of that nature. So sometimes you got to think creative, right? So from that standpoint, so just something to think about. But I would absolutely, garner as much cash flow as you can as you're kind of building up and stepping into it. Yeah, all for it. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
Thank you, Melvin. Thank you, Karina. Anyone else have questions? Feel free to unmute yourself. Or raise your hand or something, or start talking. And Melvin, would you speak a little bit more to investment accounts, right? Like how people, because a lot of people don't even know this, that you can invest your IRAs and your 401ks in apartments. So you actually are an investor, a direct investor in the apartments.
Right. Yeah. So there are certain IRA custodians that will allow you to invest in apartments. I will say Fidelity is not one of them. Okay. I had to move some money 3 times because I had 3 separate 401k with previous employers, move them into different IRA custodians. So I have 2. I like Equity Trust. Equity Trust is nearby. Pittsburgh is in Ohio. Other folks in the Sunrock ecosystem and other ecosystems who live in Texas, they love Quest. Something else to be mindful of as well in terms of using your self-directed IRA to invest. There is something that I learned just within the last 4 months called UBIT. There's a UBIT tax that could be added on to the gains if you're investing with your self-directed IRA. So with regards to that, there's 2 other custodians that kind of help kind of offset that, and they're very aware of it. So not many IRA custodians are aware of this as well. One of them is EQRP is another IRA custodian that's well aware of the UBIT tax on gains in regards to syndications if you decide to use your self-directed IRA. So be mindful of that as well when you kind of looking and doing your respective due diligence. There's a potential taxes associated with that as well. So while I just kind of found out about that, because as you can imagine, I'm in 10 deals now, but as of end of last year, I was in 8. And out of the 8, 5 of them were self-directed IRA. So if they all blow it out the water, I could be subject to a substantial amount of tax. So I want to be mindful of that and knowing where that I'm educated and taking the right steps to make sure I'm in front of it when that time comes.
Thank you, Melvin. You mentioned another custodian that could handle your accounts. And what was that? I want to post it in chat just so everybody has a chance.
What it's
at it.
EQ or lowercase EQ. One sec. Bear with me. Let me make sure. We'll make sure I'm giving the right EQRP with a lowercase e. That's one. And the other one, let me tell you the other one. The other one is directed IRA. Directed IRA.
Yep. Okay, thank you for that. Yeah,
sure.
I posted a couple other companies in the chat in case anyone is, Equity Trust, a Quest Trust company, are some that I'm familiar with as well. So EQRP, another one. Okay, and then the last one, what was the name of that one? Just so everybody has it.
Directed IRA / directed trust company. If you need a contact, I'll give my contact who I've been kind of dealing with as well. I'm planning to do a webinar with the folks from Directed IRA. One of the head individuals have connected with my wife at a family office event and sharing some of the great stuff that they have. So In hindsight, a lot of these custodians kind of follow along the same wavelength in terms of allowing you to invest. So, they're similar, but in terms of the UBIT tax, RP and directed IRA, they're really in front of that in terms of providing additional education for that. So, as with anything, right?
That's
Make
good
sure
to
you kind
know.
of do your cross checks
Yeah.
from that respective standpoint.
That's good to know, Melvin.
Yeah.
Yeah. We plan to have some on in the future too, as well on this show as well. So just for
Well, Herb,
everyone's
if you
information.
want to contact from directed RA, I can provide you that because I'm planning on doing a webinar as well to educate my folks. So yeah, my ecosystem.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it sounds like they have a lot of educational knowledge for people, investors, right? So that's good.
That's half the battle,
Reach
right?
out to you. Yeah,
Knowing what to do when the time comes, right? So
right. This could be
Yeah.
very valuable to some, investors. So
indeed.
yeah, so we're about 45 minutes into it now. So we'll be bringing it to a close here in a few minutes. So anyone else have any questions for Melvin before we move on to give the gift away?
One more question.
Sure. Fire away. Fire away.
Go ahead.
So for the IRAs, is it right that you can't invest in your own investment? You can only invest in somebody else's, so like a passive.
You're absolutely correct. So I cannot
Okay.
be a GP and use my IRA dollars. So for all opportunities for the 2 co-GP opportunities I've done, it's been strictly my liquid cash. So everything else
Okay.
is the ones where I'm passive, I leverage my IRA.
And same with real estate properties like duplexes and stuff. You can't touch it for that either.
Right. You can garner the cash flow from it, right? You can put it back into your IRA to grow, but it needs to be deemed passive. So yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And if I were to provide advice to anyone, I mean, kind of starting off, for anyone who's maybe beginner, I was in that chair, right? I was sitting at R2R and my mouth just dropped to the floor, right? Kind of listening to the speeches and, Will Wright, once he gave his spiel on taxes, my mouth, further dropped to the floor and I couldn't pick it up. I was just like, oh my goodness.
Most people don't know these things about tax.
I was like, ooh wee.
Some people call them loopholes, but they're not. They're incentives by the government that because they want us to do certain things.
Yeah.
Right.
Want you to invest.
In housing.
Yeah. So, I got 2,500 friends on Facebook. And when I see 50 of them, it's a good year. I only paid the IRS $6,000. I just cringe. Come on, man. There's a better way. And if you choose not to listen, that's okay. Let us in this ecosystem get the big checks and we'll go celebrate at the next bus tour, right? We'll just keep it moving. So some folks will never learn. So it is what it is.
Yeah. So Melvin, is there anything else you would like to talk to us about before we give the gift away?
Hey, all I say is 2 things as you're kind of starting out. If you're going to be a syndicator, there will be naysayers out there. I guarantee you. But look, I mean, I'm in it a year, right? I'm working on a co-GP opportunity. And guess what? Within the last 2 weeks, man, I got my brother to commit to invest passively in my deal. It took a year. I talked to him on a personal level. He knows what time it is. We talk about the IRS checks that I get, and he's bought in. So for those unplugged with on social media, right? You got to keep marketing. You got to keep putting yourself out there. I'm getting feedback from folks that, hey, I see what you're doing. You're putting out good content, right? You and your wife were collaborative. And you know what? I couldn't do it all without my wife. So that buy-in from her standpoint, I think is key. And we're dividing and conquering. And that's how we're really making the growth trajectory. So, I'm in Raise Masters. I'm the face of Raise Masters. We have a family office corporate membership. She's the face of that, right? We're in a couple of other masterminds also as well that we kind of got to divide and conquer. So we make it work. I know you say, Herb, you got 4 kids, at the house. I got 1, right? So I got a little flexibility. If I had that many, I don't know if I'd be able to be as flexible, right? I mean, hey, got to be there for the kiddos, right? But it's going well. We're fired up, we're motivated, and starting to see the results, man. It's pretty cool. it's pretty cool to see
It
results
is.
kind of starting to come into play. And yeah, man, again, hey, real estate's been a blessing for me. And man, I don't know where I would be without it. And I'll just close with that, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Melvin. So here's our thing. We're giving away a $10 Starbucks card tonight to one lucky winner. The winner has to be live on the call. And Jared is spinning the wheel here. So let's see who wins tonight. $10 Starbucks card. Tristan, are you on the call?
Yeah.
Awesome. Look at you go.
There's no way. That's funny.
Yeah.
Woohoo,
Awesome.
won.
Tristan is the winner. Okay, so expect a gift card by email. And if you're not familiar, you just open up your email on your phone and scan the thing at Starbucks and buy all you can buy with $10, right? So
That's
awesome. All righty. Well, that's it for tonight. And hopefully y'all can join next week as well. We do this every Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And feel free to reach out to myself anytime you like. Maybe I should put my contact information here on the chat, but you probably have the connection where we sent the link out to you as well. So, all righty. Well, have a great night. Thank you
for the
so much,
opportunity, Eric.
Melvin.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Eric.
Sure.
Kristen,
Thank you,
Ross.
guys. Bye.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
Great night.